everybody, welcome back to the Helix. Today we've got more M15 cards, so let's get started. As far as we know, M15 is going to contain two reprinted Planeswalkers, Liliana Vest and Chandra Powermaster. Chandra Powermaster saw very little standard play, along with Liliana Vest, but hopefully this second chance will give them a friendly environment where they can each be useful and standard. But one of our new Planeswalkers, Nissa, Worldwaker, is one of the most powerful that we've seen in green so far. So for being a 5-mana Planeswalker, she doesn't start off very well, only having 3 loyalty. But she makes up for it with 2 very powerful +1 abilities. The first one, allowing you to turn a land into a 4/4 Elemental of Trample. This allows Nissa to protect herself, also leaving you a fatal value if she instantly dies too. It's also very recurable, as you can just turn more and more lands into creatures. Nissa's other +1 ability is also very powerful, allowing you to tap up to 4 lands, making her one of the most effective ramp spells for her cost. And as far as an ultimate goes, she's even more powerful. Ending the game by making a horde of 4/4s isn't too shabby by any means. Our other new Planeswalker we know so far, Ajani the Steadfast, can help that process go along smoothly. His -2 allows you to get more loyalties and +1 counters onto your other fellow creatures and Planeswalkers. This means that he's fairly group hug, as we've always known Ajani to be, but his +1 can also gain up on one creature as well, giving it First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink, along with +1/+1 until the end of the turn. And then finally, his ultimate ability allows you to reduce all damage dealt to you or Planeswalkers you control to 1. I might be underrating Ajani, but overall I think he's very slow for what he does, and he might just not be what we need right now. And overall as a Planeswalker, Ajani has never been very powerful because he can never do anything by himself alone. The only reasonable exception is Ajani Vengeant, who still sees modern play. We also have some new information on the soul cards. Soul of Phyrexia is one of the most powerful so far, being a 6-mana 6/6 trampler that allows you to exile it or just pay 5 when it's on the field in order to make every permanent you control indestructible. This is one of the most powerful soul cards because it can protect all the other creatures you use to get them out easily. Soul of Innistrad is one of the most interesting abilities of the souls. It allows you to return 3 creatures from your graveyard back to your hand at the cost of 5 mana. This means that while it's in the graveyard, it can get you value from your graveyard, which has been seen as a very powerful combination in the past. And moving on to my least favorite soul, Soul of Chandal, which I'm pretty sure is just a Pangea form of Alara, and it's 5 shards. Allows you to pay 5 mana in order to do 3 damage to a player and to a creature they control. This seems very underwhelming, especially in red, which doesn't have a lot of mana to throw around anyway, but we might be very surprised, and this might have a lot of value in those splashy decks. But right next to Phyrexia is Soul of Theros as far as my favorite souls. The reason I like Soul of Theros and Phyrexia so much is that they affect the field immediately. Speaking of more powerful Nykthos/Graveyard users is Return to the Ranks. Return to the Ranks is a Convoke card that allows you to return X cards from your graveyard, which are creatures that have a mana cost of 2 or less. This means that you can return your whole graveyard back to play for just the low cost of maybe just a couple mana in order to pay for it, and I think it's very interesting for a Convoke card to make even more creatures, and it'll be interesting to see how we can abuse this. Speaking of great designs, Aggressive Mining from the creator of Minecraft is a very interesting card. Its most useful situation is when you are already flooding out and you need more non-land cards. But this means is that you're cut off from using any more lands for the rest of the game, so anything that you draw with it that isn't a spell per se is pretty much useless. But spending a card when you are already flooding from mana is a bit abstract, and it'll be interesting to see if this sees any play. Moving on from there is the Fixed Birthing Pod on a stick. Yisan allows you to tap him and search up a bigger and bigger creature from your deck every turn. And while not requiring a sacrifice, the speed of this card might prove just too slow. Speaking of older formats, Goblins have been a defining force in Legacy for many years, but have seen a wane in popularity in the last few. But Goblin Rubble Master hopefully can bring that popularity back up, and it might just be the pile driver the deck always wanted. And lastly, Sliver Hive just seems a bit out of place. For first of all, slivers was the theme of the last set. M14 featured lots of new slivers. And the second thing I have to say about that is that the M14 slivers were very different from the slivers that we're used to. And these are more the traditional slivers. But it'll be interesting to see if they make a yield resurgence this set, or is this just for the value that it gets while the other M14 set is in circulation and standard. But anyway, with all these great mana sinks running around, I think the next format with cons is going to be very slow in order for these cards to see great effect. Well, that's M15 so far. We've seen a lot of great cards, and I'm interested to see what is left. Hopefully Jace is awesome. Anyway, see you later, and as always, Jesus loves you.